funny to watch Brad operate, right? Because goes from the bench right to the front office. And you could make the argument that it was actually the best guy for the job. Now, he's going to have, Mike Zarin, who I don't think is enough credit of anybody in that staff. I think Zarin is I'm glad he's a C's fan, because if he weren't a C's fan, I think he'd be somewhere else by now. But he's a really excellent GM. You got Austin Ainge in there. There's a bunch of other people in that front office. But Brad's a guy going from the bench to the front office role where he has direct, impact on what the roster looks like. And there is nobody better than the guy that just sat there coaching this team. He's like, I know what we need. And unlike Danny Ainge, I'm willing to trade off future first round picks to get it. That's the one. Danny was always, and you watch this Utah thing, he's going to hoard all these picks. Like when Donovan gets traded too, they're not trading any of them. You're lucky if you get one. If not, you're asking for two. Oh no, Danny's out. My point being, and my question to you, Barrett, did Danny hold this team back? Because you get Brad in there and he's done a few things, trading Kemba to get Horford back and unloading a pick there and unloading a pick to get Brogdon and unloading a pick and then a pick swap to get Derrick White. Like all those moves have made perfect sense, both on paper and then last year on the floor. Like I was listening to, not to shout out my own company here, but like Bobby Manning and John Zanis were doing something for the Garden Report, and they were kind of trashing Derrick White in his performance in the finals. Now I'll admit, Derrick White wasn't phenomenal in the finals outside of the first game. But like you don't get to the NBA Finals without Derrick White, and that's a fact. And so to call that a bad trade, I'm not doing that, because if we don't trade for Derrick White, you probably don't get to the NBA Finals, and you probably don't realize what you actually need, right? Not getting far enough, you might make a weird trade for somebody else, but getting Brogdon, such a smart pick, and it gives them exactly what they need. So my point being, again, did Danny Ainge, with all of his pick hoarding, hold this team back from accomplishing more things in that last little short window they had?
Yeah, I think two things can be true as it pertains to Ainge. Like, we can't diminish what he did building this team, where he hit on Tatum, who everybody thought Foles was the top pick. Everybody was like, who the heck is Jaylen Brown? Jaylen Brown was booed, legitimately booed when he got drafted, right? And then you think about it, he's been crushed for some of these picks lately, like Neesmith and the Bane trade, but he hit on Grant, he hit on Robert Williams late in the first round, so he deserves some credit for that. But today, Danny wasn't going to push this team over the top. And I'm completely with you. I don't see him making the Derrick White trade. I don't see him attaching a first-round pick to get rid of Kemba Walker's contract. So I do think you needed a new set of eyes on things. And I didn't like it at the time, the way the search went. Like, I'm like, all right, if you eventually land on Brad, that's fine. But it was like there was really no search for the new general manager. But now, like, as I sit back and I see what Brad Stevens did, to your point, it did make perfect sense because he was there every day. And think about the players he's getting rid of, right? Romeo Langford, he was around for a couple of years. So Brad's very good in terms of player development, right? He saw Grant Williams. He saw Robert Williams. He knows what these guys are going to be long-term. And he said, he's a guy worth getting rid of. Now, maybe Aaron Neesmith turns out to be a decent player in Indiana, but Brad deemed, okay, maybe he's not the perfect fit for us either. Maybe he's not going to develop long-term. So I think he does a good job of this is going back to the Nabrowski thing. Like, that we're not going to be big time stars like Santiago Espinal and trading him for Steve Pierce. That's a crazy reference, but you get my point. You're looking at these guys saying,
like Anderson Espinoza for who's the lefty they got from San Diego? Pomeranz.
What's his name? Yeah, Pomeranz. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they gave up nothing for Kimbrel. Manuel Margot, that was the best guy, and he's been on like 2 teams since then. But my overwhelming point is Brad probably looks at it as, okay, what is Aaron Neesmith's best use to the Boston Celtics? It's getting a guy like Malcom Brogdon. What is Romeo Langford's best thing? Sending him off and getting something in return for him, right? So Brad took those assets that were somewhat damaged, I would say. They definitely diminished in value since they stepped foot in the NBA, and he got something of quality back for them. And he did have sort of an attachment to the guy he drafted. I think that goes without saying, right? So now Brad doesn't draft anybody, so who cares, right?
Like the mystery box thing, like it's that Family Guy bit where it's like, you could either have a boat or you could have whatever inside the mystery box. And Peter goes, there could be anything, Lois. It could even be a boat. So it's like in this particular case, Danny's like, the next pick could be Tony Allen or Rondo or Avery Bradley or, whatever guy they've hit late, or they might suck, and Brad's like, you know what I'm going to not do? worry about that. I'm just going to get good players that fit our scheme and fit our model. And it's worked out so far beautifully for Brad. We'll see how, this season goes upcoming. But again, I think he's done a good job trading off the picks they've had to get really good assets. And it's not like, the one thing I'll say is, Brogdon's $22 million is a nice, little thing to have in a trade to match salary. You know what I mean? It's not the worst thing there. We can match the salary a little bit, but